gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday, May 5th Town Board meeting. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, May 5th Town Board meeting. Present are Councilman Burke, Councilman Cologne, Councilman McQuaid, Superintendent Rizzo, good to see you again. Our Comptroller, Peter Martin, Council Jim Galvin, and of course our Town Clerk, Mary Ellen Beans. We are looking to start off with the approval of the minutes for April 7th, 2014. We need a motion for that. At present, were Doles, McQuaid, Burke. Table to later?
There aren't any minutes.
There are minutes.
Where?
Where? Excuse me. Councilman asked me a question. You're on your tablet. There's a memo that all of you received that you have iPads. All of your minutes, every single document that we will have accumulated in the prior 2 weeks, they're all on your iPads.
Excellent.
There's a memo to that effect. There's a couple of them. So those minutes would be in your tablets. Daniel,
Did you get my memo?
We have your memo.
Did you get my memo?
Yeah,
About the items to be put on the agenda?
we have that.
How come it's not on?
This was already published. That's why this was sent on
This was
Saturday.
updated today.
No, excuse me, let me just, again, you asked a question regarding the meeting minutes. The minutes you have on your tablet.
And you said that I read the memo. Well, did you get my memo? You said yes.
We received this in the afternoon. This was sent.
It was
Saturday,
sent when?
Saturday, May 3rd at 9:07 p.m.
That's correct. So you had all day today to update it.
We did this. This was sent to the town board. Okay.
It was sent to the same person who does the agenda.
Again, we have this. There are items here that will be placed on the agenda for this evening.
They will be placed.
Will be placed on some of these items will be placed on the agenda for this evening.
Which ones?
This will be the item.
Let's finish the subject, which is the minutes. Let's get that done.
Well, he brought up the subject of reading the memo, and I want to know what happened to mine.
This
So
is
we
turning.
brought up the subject of what happened.
These are important issues, and I just wanted to know which one.
Here's your hard copy for the minutes. That's our hard copy for the minutes for April 7th. You have them now in two forms. You have them in electronic form. You have an iPad tablet in which it's digitized.
Not a problem, but let's go back let's back up to my memo.
Your memo, these items will be added to the agenda.
Which one?
For ones that you had asked for, with the exception of the one in which you're asking to sue an individual, a company. You're asking to sue a company. That's something which we cannot bring up in public. You're asking to sue a company.
I said the discussion.
You said, can the town board go after the last independent, and I cannot complete that sentence.
Okay.
That is something which is subject, according to attorney, which we run the risk of being sued.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
If we continue with your request, we will be sued by the individual.
Okay. So you're going to put the other items on?
The other items, I don't think that there's a problem with it.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Now you have the draft minutes.
Thank you.
You're still on the subject of whether or not to approve the minutes.
Would you like to approve the minutes for April 7th? We'll table them until later. The April 21st meeting minutes for April 21. We'll table them minutes later. And April 25th.
I'm asking for April 25th to be held up.
Okay, and we'll hold over April 25th. The commercial, the upcoming meetings, dates, and general announcements for the month of May. We have our town board meeting this evening. We have the planning board meeting at 7:30. Also, we have the community block grant meeting, which we'll discuss in further detail later, as well as the historical society for on Saturday, which we'll discuss in greater detail. On the 13th, we have another planning board meeting, as well as a ZB on the 15th. The town board meeting will meet again on the 19th, the Conservation Commission on the 21st, and tax grievance will meet on the 27th. We have the compost facility will be open. We had April 26th. We had May 3rd. It'll be open again on May 10th, May 17th, and May 24th. Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The facility will accept leaves and brush and no glass clippings. In the last 2 Saturdays that we were open, we had about 35 people attending, dropping grass clippings off. The total expense per day is approximately $880. We will have another opening on the 10th, and again, we look forward to you folks taking use of the being able to drop your clippings off. Please, no branches. Highway Superintendent, are there any limits what they can take out in terms of the gravel?
No, there's plenty there. They can help themselves with it. And mulch, we have a lot of natural mulch. If anybody wants it, please come and help yourselves. We can load it for you. And as well as topsoil. We have a lot of that from our sandy reclamation. We recycle everything, and town residents are able to come and get as much as you like.
There is a limit. There is a limit that we have for commercial use, and if anybody has a question that's looking to purchase it for commercial use, please contact the town board, the supervisor's office, or the highway department, and we'll give you a schedule of costs. Otherwise, it's free for the residents. Again, that's compost, gravel, and whatever else might be there. If you like it, it's yours for the taking. We have a electronics recycling program that's coming up for the town of Monroe. We're in the process of acquiring a new vendor for the program, and that's something which the town clerk is in the process of doing. However, we have some information that will be coming along a little bit later under new business. We have the town clerk announcements for May 5th.
Yeah, I would just like the public to know that the DEC computer is now up and running. I am selling fishing and hunting licenses, although the hunting licenses do not go on sale till August 4th this year. They will be rolling out a week earlier because there are some changes in their way they're doing things. It's no longer a sportsman license. They'll be doing like an a la carte, and you can mix and match and put together different licenses, which will make it cheaper depending on what you're looking to put together. There is a reduction in the fishing license this year. It went down $4 from $29 to $25. We had a very successful morning, although this afternoon the state did have a problem with the system, and we weren't able to sell licenses this afternoon. So I'm hoping they'll get the glitch fixed by the morning. The other thing I would like to announce on Monday, we will be starting the town clerk's office on the website under town clerk. You will be able to go online and register your dogs. We will have online dog registration. You will need to have an updated rabies. If the rabies is expired, you cannot register your dog online. You do have to come into the office in person and show me an updated rabies. So that will be out on Monday, and you can pay by check or credit card. And the next step in that, I will be speaking with the attorney and the town board on increasing, if someone would like to do a 3-year dog license or a 2-year dog license. I'm looking into making that available to the residents. So hopefully we'll be fine tomorrow morning with the DEC computer, but we are up and running.
We have certificates of appreciation going out to a number of students in Monroe Woodbury for the for the Operation Clean Sweep that took place last week. We have it scheduled for May 19th here at the town board. Additionally, we would like to invite one of the founders of it, Charlie Finnerty, if he would like to. We would like to present him with a plaque which denotes that date as Charlie Finnerty Day. And we invite him to be able to come to the next town board meeting and let us celebrate all the accomplishments he's done on behalf of the town, as well as present him with the plaque. That would be for May 19th at the town board. We have for the 2014 consolidated funding applications. This is for the community development block grants. We have tomorrow scheduled a public hearing. The block grants have to be in by the end of the month. It's a discussion with the supervisor as well immediately thereafter regarding planning and zoning in the RR1, RR3, and the URM zoning districts. These would be areas that have a direct correlation to some of the events that are going on here in the town, and what the planning board is responsible and what the zoning board is responsible for interpreting the current laws regarding land use. That will be here at the senior center from 6 p.m. for the public hearing. The village of Monroe had that a couple of weeks ago. Ours was postponed because of the holidays, and we rescheduled for tomorrow. We assume that it should be around 7 o'clock for the discussion with the supervisor for the planning and zoning. And if any of the board members would like to attend, remember, we can have one additional board member here without it being a meeting. So if one of you would like to attend, please let me know so that we can coordinate it accordingly. We need a resolution to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
You had number 6 on here.
Boathouse hours of operation. Okay. We have the boathouse hours of operation. Thank you. We're going to be opening Friday, May 23rd from 2:30 to 7:30, Saturday, May 24th, and Sunday, 5/25, 2014. The hours would be from 10 a.m. to 7:30. On Memorial Day, 5/26. The hours would be from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. The last rental would go out 1 hour before closing. As we did in the past, last year, we took Memorial Day to be able to offer the veterans and their families use of the facilities. It was recommended to me that we try to stay within a 20-minute to half an hour rental for the veterans. It was very successful last year. We did it a little late, but it proved very, the public responded very nicely to it. I would like the board to consider allowing Memorial Day to be used to express our appreciation and support for the veterans and their families by allowing them to be able to use the boat rentals for a period of half hour per family for Memorial Day.
Fine.
I'll create the vouchers, and then this way they can be logged into at the boathouse itself.
Are you asking for a vote or just a general?
We'll need a vote because somehow we would be taking money in that we're not. So I would assume that somehow we'd have to have some format to be able to do this.
I'll make the motion.
You can make a motion to allow veterans and their families a half hour free of charge use.
Of no charge use for the boat. On Memorial Day.
Yeah. And for those who want to, take my number down. It's, if you want to, I don't think whether we're going to have the website up to be able to schedule, but my number is 845-500-0889. We will put out on the Channel 22, we will put out the telephone numbers to coordinate the times if you want to leave a message. We just want to be able to fill the blocks of time. We have a number of boats there, as you're well aware of. Some of them, like the kayaks, I think it's going to be a little too cold, but you never know. We will have a porta potty there like we had in the past. That'll be handicap accessible, and the cleaning schedule, we're going to try to move from 2 days a week to what I think is going to be 3 or 4 days a week. Seems a little bit more consistent with the reasonable needs of the use of the facility. Did we make the motion for it?
I made the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Call the question, any discussion?
I think it's a great idea to do that for the veterans.
By Memorial Day, sure.
Can we call the question then, gentlemen?
Aye.
The Monroe Historical Society, Jim Nelson has asked me to read this. The Monroe Historical Society will be presenting its movies made in Monroe on May 10th at 1 p.m. at the Monroe Senior Center, upper level, right here where we sit now. This year we'll be featuring 4 movies. Letter to a Hero, which was nominated for an Academy Award, Letter to a Rebel, Women in the Community, and the re-release of Letter to a Rebel. So like you observe the difference between the 2 films. As always, these films are shown free of charge and reservations are not required. For further information, you can contact our town historian, Jim Nelson, at 783-3406. If you'd like, you can go to the town board, to the website, and you'll be able to obtain some information regarding it as well.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yeah.
Right. There was also another movie that was made in Monroe. It was called A Letter from Home. I believe it was a short that was done during the war years. If anyone knows about it or has a copy of it, to get hold of the...
That's the one that he was talking about, A Letter to the Rebel.
A Letter to the Rebel or A Letter from Home? I think it was A Letter from Home, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. It was done during the war years. Anyway, that's all right. I digress.
Okay. We have under special orders, we have budgetary transfers. There's a list of them that need to have your gentlemen's attention. The first
I'll
one,
make a motion to transfer $25,165.28 from DA00 Snow Removal Personal Services to DA00, file numbers, I won't bore you with them, snow removal overtime.
I'll second the motion.
call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to transfer $8,348.67 from the DB fund for machinery contractual over to the DB fund for machinery overtime.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Call the
This
question?
one, hold on, the overtime was for, what, when we had the water main use, but this was snow plowing? All right. I'll go.
Call the
Aye.
question?
Aye.
Aye.
Next one?
To transfer $3,482.26 from the A fund contingency over to, in the A fund, the codification. And this was for publishing the road specifications. This was not anticipated in the adopted budget, but we're transferring money from A fund contingency to cover it.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
On a fund balance appropriation, to appropriate $50,000 even from B fund balance to increase the budget for the Orchard Hills State's water system. This will be recorded as a loan to the water system to be repaid back later to the B fund.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Gentlemen, there's one additional one, and this is not a small one, but a very important one. This is an authorization to appropriate from fund balance the sum of $200,000. This is from line B-1420-4500-01. This is a transfer for special counsel, engineering, and planning for the upcoming seeker review process.
that's to cover any upcoming secret review expenses?
In speaking, yes, and not to cover, but to authorize that we have the money there so that we can draw down when necessary for the seeker review. That's the process that we will be involved in based on the DEC's decision. I spoke with Mr. Donnelly, I spoke with Council Galvin. They both feel, and correct me, Council, that this is a good starting amount that should ensure that we have the money available for council, for engineering, and for planning to be able to do what we need to do that on our end, at least initially. If you have any question for council, please you can address it directly now.
What account does that get transferred into, Peter?
Gets transferred from the B fund balance to the B line that we told is for special counsel.
Special counsel.
Right.
Thank you.
However, special counsel could be interpreted as just legal. It is not. It is legal, engineering, and planning regarding this transfer.
You could be moved around, isn't it?
Okay.
I'll make the motion to transfer $200,000 from the B fund balance, from the B fund balance to have to the B fund line that you mentioned a moment ago for secret review expenses for special.
It's for special counsel.
Special counsel.
For attorney, engineering, and planning.
For attorney, engineering, and planning.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I had spoken to the town planner earlier this afternoon, and she notified me that in her opinion it was the smart move to make to have the money there, so that, just in her opinion as the town planner, that there would be some expenses coming up in the future, and this would be the right step to make, so the town planner is on board with it also.
For the amount of 200, that's all right. I mean, because it's a starting point, I know we gotta spend some.
Do you have a different number in mind?
I'm just bowled over at the point that this is just the beginning point of 200K. Do we have to go for 200? I mean,
Do we what?
I guess we're gonna be going through that kind of money.
The assumption is, again, this was, I asked counsel, both Mr. Galvin and Mr. Donnelly.
Yeah.
They both affirmed that this was
Let's start.
a reasonable point to be able to transfer.
It can, just in case we need it.
It's there. We
Okay.
had anticipated by May 5th or May 2nd, certain occurrences, they did not happen. However, we need to be prepared to be able to immediately do what we have to do to respond in a timely manner to any kind of timelines which are going to be presented to us. It's a number that both felt was reasonable at this point, given the issues that are presented for the town.
Okay.
I want to apologize to the board. This was something I had spoken with members of the press Friday afternoon, and I sent them a copy of this. I don't know, because I can't access my email right now. I believe that I sent a copy of this Friday afternoon to the board members, but I did send a copy of it to the press. It was something which we wanted to, the supervisor felt I wanted them to know that there was this motion which was going to be put forth to deal with any issues that might be coming up, which I thought would have happened on Friday but didn't, nor today. So my apologies to the board for not being able to put it in, as well as Councilman Cologne's paperwork. Getting it in sometimes is a little bit more difficult. We're still a little behind in getting things done, especially Mondays, where there's so much work that's going on in preparation for not only the town board meetings, but everything else that tends to accumulate over the weekend. So that being said, can I call the question?
Aye.
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 Okay. Under old business, we're moving to the request. We had discussed this the week before last. I know that Councilman Cologne, I know that Councilman McQuaid had wanted to visit this. This was something which had been an issue, and that was the board vote for discussion for a town board seat. So with that being said, this was not on the agenda. However, just like the resolution for the authorization for the appropriation, it came in after things were done. I apologize, but now that we have it, it's the board vote for, or board discussion for the vacant board seat. If anybody would like to start that, please be my guest.
I would like to know if any of the other board members have any one particular person in mind or candidate for this seat besides myself.
I don't.
Yeah? Yes?
No, but please go ahead. You're right there.
Great. This issue's been kicked around since the last election. The person I'm going to nominate not only has extensive background with the planning board, currently served for many years, by the way, also is serving currently on the zoning board. He also has a background and is also an accountant. He's been involved in town politics for well over a decade. And I think he's a man of integrity. I think Mr. McWaters would be a fine candidate. I also choose Mr. McWaters for another reason, that he was part of the opposition campaign. I felt that since our community is so divided, that I would like to see some more balance. Democracy is not a comfort zone. Democracy has to have checks and balances. Democracy has to have opposition. Democracy is the ideas coming together from both sides of the table to come up with a plan. I think that Mr. McWaters exemplifies that, and that's my candidate. That's who I would like to.
Motion.
I'd like to make that. If we're going to vote on it,
It's not that we're going to vote, or this is the, you know.
I would like to see him on this board.
Is there a motion?
Well, first we have to make the motion. All right, then I will make that motion to make Dennis McWaters the candidate for the open seat. In all honesty, to everybody, we've had a lot of discussions on a lot of people, a lot of good people to run for this seat. And I've given you my reasons for that. So, yes, that's my motion. Yes, sir.
We need a second. Seeing no second. Seeing no second, I'd like to, Daniel, I would like to enter into submission for the position of town board. Somebody. Sir.
Sorry,
No, no.
I'm reading your mind. I apologize.
No.
No,
But I'm going to ask you to leave. We're going to ask you to leave. We're going to ask you to leave. For that comment, we're going to ask you to leave.
Why don't you ask the...
It is absolutely wholly inappropriate what you just said. Thank you. Sir, I've asked you to leave. Sir, I've asked you to leave. I've asked you to leave.
I'm not annoying you, I said one word.
Sir, I've asked you to leave.
No. Let's take a vote. Let's take a vote. I second. He stays.
Take a vote.
Yay! Thank you very much. That being said, I'd like to submit for consideration to the board my nominee. This is someone who has worked for over 30 years, extraordinarily hard on the interests of the town. Somebody who has tirelessly been there no matter what, with a lot of aggravation, also has the depth of knowledge to be able to do the kind of work that the town board would does on a routine basis, and probably knows it better than anyone that I know. I'd like to offer I'd like to submit the name of Pat Coppola as nominee for the town board of Monroe.
Who is he? He's an actor.
You're gonna have that. He's there.
Matt, come on up, Matt.
He's in video. He's not even here. Not here. Yeah, where is he? Is it he or she? Not a good choice.
Pat's been a member of the planning board. He's been on numerous boards. He certainly knows better than most people the type of work, the issues that are before not only the town, but the planning, virtually every part of this way that government functions. I think it would make a welcome addition. He's a middle-of-the-road kind of a person. He's an honest man. He's a decent man. And again, the nomination is for Pat Coppola as a member of the town board of Monroe. I need a second for discussion. Gentlemen? If there's a second, if there's none,
I'll second it for discussion. The problem I have with that is perhaps having been just put on the VAR, I think that maybe the timing might be bad for the town with that, although I think he's a fine person to nominate, and I have no big issues against it, but I think that maybe we might be better off looking either to the future to put someone on, or maybe having more discussions as between separate town council members on who to put on. I think both nominees are good people, but I don't think we have a consensus here. If you let me speak, I don't interrupt you when you speak.
ladies and gentlemen, please.
Well, then I've said enough.
Board member.
You're welcome.
Pat has been involved with planning for many years and with the town. But again, I have no personal issue. I know Pat since I've been on the board here. He's been very much involved. But I still like my candidate.
I was wondering if you would be willing to table this for a few weeks, because I think the work that Pat is doing for the town with the VAR, and we know we had trouble filling that position. Might be better off looking to the future to do something like that, or maybe another candidate, because I worry about the fact that we have to have this Board of Assessment and Review work done for the public. And I just don't know if that's the best move to make right now at this very date. I hope you understand my concerns. I hope we can
The reason we're doing
put this forward.
this is being done out in the open. I don't know where traditionally the other villages have done so. This is a first time that discussion has been made for appointing somebody in a board position like this. If this is something which the board wants to revisit and discuss individually, one-on-one, it is something which I believe council has indicated we are allowed to do. Council, and I thank Mr. Galvin for this, Mr. Galvin had advised us that in our deliberations collectively as a board, we should do this out in public, out in the open, even though there's no protocol that ourselves, the past town board, nor the villages have done in terms of this kind of open screening process. It is something which the town would like to revisit again individually, one-on-one, and then address this again at the May 19th town board meeting, whatever is your pleasure.
Right now, I'm sorry, right now you have a motion for discussion purposes. You have not put a motion for a vote up yet. So if you're going to not do that, then what you,
If you're asking,
then you just close out the discussion and decide.
Councilman McQuaid, if you're asking me to withdraw,
I'm asking that we table it till the May 19th meeting. At that point, maybe between yourself and Councilman Cologne, you could talk this over. If you guys can't come to a consensus, I have two candidates I'd like to put up on the 19th. I have to make sure that, giving you two guys your respect, I know Mr. Cologne's had this in mind for a long time. So if that doesn't work out, I have two other candidates who maybe we can come to an agreement on. And maybe by the 19th we can settle it, hopefully.
so then I'll withdraw.
Yeah, I might say I haven't spoken with Pat Capola. I know him, but I don't know him well, and it'd be nice to have a discussion about what his view of town government is and what what town government can do. Also, I have a couple of people that I think would make fine board members. But let me say, folks, you understand what's going on. It's no consensus. There's 4 people here, and they have different ideas of who they want to appoint. And in order to appoint somebody, we need 3 votes. And so far, I don't think you've heard agreement on 2 people voting for the same person. So I mean, that's the quandary we're in. And it's not like we can go into a caucus and mull it around and try to convince each other. We have to do this in public because the law requires it. The Open Meetings Law requires it. Also, here, let me say this: that this we would be filling this seat until November. If somebody wants to be on the town board, coming up in June, you can circulate your petitions, or you can do them later with a special party in July or August. There's a primary in September. You win that primary, you do your campaign, and then comes November, you get elected, you're on the board. And not just because of we said so, but because the people of Monroe say so. So that process lies in front of us. We would be appointing somebody for the 6 months from May to November. So anyway, that's. Well, I'm certain that if somebody got elected in November, the meeting after the election we would probably appoint them.
No, Dan.
He says we can. Up to the end of the year. See how much work we need to do on this, folks?
We'll wait till the end of the year.
So then, gentlemen, I will withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to submit at this time nomination for the town board?
If you guys can't agree by the 19th, I'll put a person on.
That being said, if we can move forward under old business, this has to do with the planning board meetings. Ms. Kiesel had asked that to be put on the agenda. This was a motion that we passed at the last town board meeting, authorizing the televising of both the planning board and the ZBA. I want to thank again Mary Ellen Beams for having the tenacity and the putting this together. It was a pretty big task to try to get everything positioned properly, and I know that the planning board and the ZBA are looking forward to televising these meetings as much as we are. As you've noticed, we are also planning, we're also televising the Village of Monroe board meetings, and that is greeted with a lot of enthusiasm. Even though the village has its own distinct and separate Cablevision contract for the Village of Monroe, and ours is only for the unincorporated part of the town, the Cablevision contract does allow us to be able to televise these other meetings. We're looking forward to not only setting up in the next couple of weeks the planning board meetings, but the zoning board meetings and a continuation of the other meetings as well. So as we start moving into a little bit more of a prolific type of website design, we'll be able to see how these things get streamed and archived accordingly so that you can visit them when you want to. If not immediately, then whenever you have a need to do so.
Supervisor Dole, I have a question. So we're going to continue filming the Village of Monroe?
The Village of Monroe is filmed. That's a volunteer effort. We just take the information and we download it. Unless the board doesn't want to, unless there's a vote on the board not to televise the village meetings, they're informational.
Oh, of course they're informational, but the only thing, I mean, instead of us voting on what we should televise about the village, maybe we should ask the village if they want us to continue. It's just a question.
Yeah, I'm a village resident, and I like seeing them up there. Keep people informed of what's going on. Well, there's a big issue with the dam and the ponds, and I think it was about 85 people came to a workshop meeting on that. And then there's another one planned. I think maybe it's May the 10th, but you can find out. But there's important issues going on in the village, and as a village resident, I want to be fully informed of what's going on there.
Right, but I know we have people that said that they did like it, but I was saying, did we ask the village?
Well, we can discuss that during the public comment, but we have a village which has its own Cablevision contract. They received $6,000 in their PEG money. They have the money to be able to televise. They also have the ability to be able to televise it on their channel. So if they can't, or for whatever reason, the money that they received in PEG money, that I don't know where it is in their budget, but it's somewhere. I'm sure that the purchase of the equipment is
no,
there.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but we have two other villages. Maybe we can film them. We're not, but if anybody does film them, then we'll welcome them and we'll put them on as well.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
If someone's going to film them, we're being filmed, we'll put on YouTube. Anybody out there that wants to film the other two villages, let us know.
Can you let us know in case the meetings are?
And I believe they have a website, and they know. Don't they publish it?
Oh. Moving on to the item B under old business, we have the Verizon cell tower issue. This is something which has been in the background, been in the forefront for some time now. This called for the construction and erection of a 150-foot cell tower right behind us. George Carney had done an extensive amount of investigation on this. There are a number of reasons why we could vote for it. There are other reasons why we would vote against it. One of the reasons, according to the 1996 and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the federal regulations that even though we probably shake our heads in disbelief, one of the rules are that we cannot say no because of health-related issues. That's something which we are denied that right to be able to vote no based on federal law. So as we're looking at this, this would be for the cell tower, a couple of things that we have. Contrary to public belief, lease rates aren't tied to population density, but rather to difficulty of finding suitable alternatives. If a wireless carrier can't find a spot that meets their needs, they will pay a higher lease rate for one that does. The cell tower lease rates are tied to the availability of alternative options. Jerry, if you want to go through this, I know that you put this together with George for quite a while. If you want to go through this.
If you just touch the basics, that's fine.
All right, then let me go through it then. The factors that influence cell tower lease rates are topography, difficulty of zoning, constructability, access to power and telephone company service, proximity to other cell sites, a full zone criteria which must exist before you erect a tower. The industry is shifting away from supersized macro towers. In addition to macro, there are micro and pico and femto-sized towers. The total amount of a cell tower in the U.S. is over 190,000 to construct, and the range is about 21.7 miles. The yearly lease rate on the average cell tower site is about $45,000. In New York is the second highest in lease rates, averaging between $30,000 to $500,000. Massachusetts is first. That amount, by the way, is considerably less what we were offered. However, price is not the important component. It's the public prevails in this issue, of course. The American consumer loves the mobile, providing it's not in their backyard. However, sometimes there are exceptions to the rule, and this may be one of them. Health concerns are on the rise. A 2004 German government study found that people living within 1,300 feet of cell towers had 3 times the norm cancer rate. Again, I caution the board, these are not reasons, according to the federal government, that we can deny this type of an application. The Indian government has banned mobile phone towers in schools and hospitals. Bird killer tower sites is not uncommon. According to Congresswoman Carol Maloney, cell phone technology is relatively new, as well as microwave transmissions, and the potentially harmful effects are not fully known. New York state law expressly prohibits localities from using zoning laws to regulate placement of such towers. The FCC does regulate certain design elements, including the maximum amount of radiation a tower can emit. The Telecom Act of 1996 prevents local planning authorities from prohibiting cell tower construction on the basis of health considerations. It is said that we are living in a soup of electromagnetic radiations, 1 billion times stronger than the natural field for which our window cells were designed for. This is a personal note, so I will leave that out regarding what I consider the vote should be. But if you have enough information at this point, gentlemen, we can belabor this issue endlessly. But the issue is whether or not the residents of the Forestdale community and Ironworks, whether or not those folks are going to be better off having this cell tower imposed upon them, or whether or not Verizon is going to make has made its case, and that they will prevail in the construction. So I'm asking the town board to make a decision, to make a motion to either vote this up or vote this down.
I'll make a motion that we turn down Verizon's offer and not elect a telephone tower. That's the highway law.
I'll second. Do we have a second?
I second it.
And we need a second for discussion, gentlemen.
I just seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah. Our neighbors here on Forestdale and that area, I mean, they've emailed us and we're in communication with them. And they're neighbors to our highway department here, so they hear the trucks backing up, they hear the bang now and then. Then they're also neighbors to our dog shelter, so they hear, you know, who knows what goes on when the full moon is up. So to take a cell phone tower and put it into that same mix it's unfair. So they told us what they thought of it, and I don't think we can do something like that. They're putting up with enough government as it is.
Here's a gentleman there, Mr. Krill, and I'm going to single him out. There were a number of people who commented, and we listened. We had the information, and we thank the input of the residents directly behind us. It was well understood. I myself understood even more than I could because, again, this is a board decision. But Mr. Krill had mentioned that how does the town board deal with a $185 billion company? Well, this is how we deal with it. We vote on it, and you'll see exactly how we deal with the $185 billion company in just a moment.
There's
Just a point of clarification, and maybe you need to make sure everybody understands. The only ability you have is to vote on a cell tower on town property.
That's it.
That's the proposal. The reason it's before you is because it's on town-owned property. That's the proposal that you are discussing. Is that one proposal on town-owned property?
Correct.
Yes, you're talking about the one that we're specifically talking about now.
Right.
Yes, that doesn't do anything to future sites that we might find that better.
That would have to be another application. If it's on town property, it'd be in front of you. If it's not on town property, it would not be in front of you.
I understand. No, so make it clear that there are other options that we have.
That you're voting on just this one.
We're just voting on one.
Because that's the only thing you're allowed to do.
So if Verizon finds a private landowner with a suitable site, they could make a deal with the private landowner.
Right, you only have the ability to weigh in on this one because it's town property.
And if it goes to a private landowner, we won't get any of the money for the tax base.
But that's your decision that you discussed.
Go
ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention that June Newcomb sent us an extensive email, a copy of it here, and I thank her for that. Also, this whole process was a public hearing. This was in the papers. People came. I think Mr. Krill spoke, but the response was really limited, and we hesitated to go ahead with it. Though we're very attracted by the cash flow for the town. But we hesitated because we thought, where's the rest of the citizens? So finally, 6-8 months later, we're hearing from more people. So I think we're making the right decision here. And let me add, the old-fashioned way of having a public hearing with a notice in the paper doesn't get as much publicity out as it should. So, and this new administration is redoing its website. It'll get out regular emails to the citizens, and there'll be better communication, and people know a little bit better what's going on. Because last year, somehow or other, people, even though it was a public hearing, they didn't know. And this coming year, this is going to get better and better. Thank you for listening.
I'd like to make a comment or two. Is that first of all, if we don't do it on public land, town property, we will not get any kind of money to help pay the town's bills to hopefully alleviate burdens on the taxpayers. So that is the financial aspect of it is one that we do have to consider. We had a lot of emails from some of the people who live in the area around the cell tower in the neighborhood, and they generally were against it. I think some of them had some nice comments or suggestions of alternate spots, which we will look into. We were thinking of that also. The fact of the matter is, though, I was talking to the comptroller earlier today, and I talked to George Corney last week, and the fact of the matter is the evidence of cell tower health problems is not definitive. It's not in. Even industry experts say that it's not totally understood, although there is some proof that there might be some health risks. if you're very close to the actual tower, as the supervisors mentioned earlier. The unfortunate thing is, no matter where you try and put something like this, you tend to get the NIMBY response, not in my backyard, which is human nature, and someone wrote me saying how would I feel if it was in my backyard, and I understood exactly what he meant. You know, that's a fact that no one wants certain things in their backyard. That being said, I think that I talked to Dan Burke late last week, and he made the valid point that this neighborhood has a highway garage here, and the dog shelter here, and it would not be necessarily, you know, perfectly the right thing to do to add another thing into the neighborhood. So I did listen to Mr. Burke's discussion with me. I understood his point. It was well made. I just hope that we don't lose an opportunity maybe to have a cell tower in the town and alleviate some of the tax burden, you know, get some money into the town tax base here. As a community, as has been pointed out by some of our long-standing community members, we don't have as much commercial as some towns might have. So I think that if we look for an alternate site, hopefully people will be reasonable if it's far enough away from a residential neighborhood that we can maybe move ahead and do something like this. If it brings in $40,000 or $50,000 or whatever it brings into the town, it might well be worth it. And the contract we dealt with, as our attorney told us, we may be dealing with a big company, but the contract, we have a competent attorney, and we all read it, and we all understood what it was, and it's pretty standard in the industry. As Sandy Leonard and I had gone down to meetings in Manhattan, we had state meetings, we understood the basic concept. And it was done on behalf of the citizens to improve cell service, which is necessary. There are some dead zones in any community, and also to bring some money in. With that being said, I hope we can find something in the future that maybe is more of a home run and everyone can enjoy that aspect of it.
Gentlemen, is there any further discussion? That being said, we need to call the question on the denial of the Verizon cell tower to be erected in the highway property. Motion made by Councilman Burke. Cool.
Yeah, I had a second.
I second. Call the question, gentlemen.
Aye.
Aye.
Rick?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Item C, which is a little bit dry, but it's important. It's the purchasing and claims processing for the town of Monroe. A couple of years ago, the state law changed some of the formulas for procurement under general municipal law. This is an update for that and a clarification so that we're more compliant and we're more in tune with the state laws, which changed a couple of years back. The summary, it's about 25 pages, but I'm only going to read a small amount. The town has established the following procurement policy that must be followed without exception. No employee shall make the purchases for the town or use the town's name to make purchases unless so authorized by the town board in adherence to the procedures set up in the procurement policy. The procurement policy. Every prospective purchase of goods and services shall be evaluated to determine the applicability of Section 103 of the General Municipal Law. Every town officer, board, department head, or personnel with the requisite purchasing authority hereinafter in this policy as the purchaser shall estimate the cumulative net amount of the items of supply or equipment needed in any given fiscal year. The limits are $20,000. The new limits are $20,000 and $35,000. All purchases of supplies or equipment which exceed $10,000 or public work contracts over $20,000 shall be formally bid in accordance with the provisions of Section 103 of the General Municipal Law. Purchase of less than $10,000 shall be handled as follows. Less than $10,000 but more than $5,000 require a written request for proposal and written quotes for not less than 2 vendors. Less than $5,000 but more than $2,000 require an oral request and oral quotes from not less than 2 vendors. Less than $2,000 purchase are left to the discretion of the purchaser. Note, a voucher with all required documentation must be submitted to such purchases, including confirmation that the above requirements have been satisfied. Public work contracts for less than $20,000 shall be handled as follows. Less than $20,000 but more than $10,000 require written requests for proposal and written quotes for not less than 3 contractors. Less than $10,000 but more than $3,000 require written requests for a proposal and written quotes for not less than 2 contractors. Less than $3,000 require written proposal for not less than 2 contractors. Please note that a voucher will be required for all documentation. An estimate must be obtained before making any purchases related to dial-a-bus repairs. If the purchase, now this is not, number 5, is not part of state law or the new municipal law under section 103, but is included for the purpose of the dial-bus. An estimate must be obtained before making any purchase related to dial-bus repairs. If the repair cost is over $500, the dial-a-bus director must provide advance notification to the town supervisor. We have a question on that relating to intra-departmental repairs. Awards. The lowest responsible proposal or quote shall be awarded the purchase or public works contract unless the purchaser prepares a written justification providing why it is the best interest of the town to make an award to other than the low bidder. If the low bidder is not deemed responsible, facts supporting that determination shall be documented and filed at the time the award is made to other than the low bidder. A good faith effort shall be made to obtain the required number of proposals or quotations. If the purchaser is unable to obtain the required number of proposals or quotations, the purchaser shall document in writing the attempts made to obtain the proposals. The written documentation must be filed at or prior to the award of the purchase. And number 6, and finally, fortunately, except as otherwise directed by the town board on a case-by-case basis, no solicitation of written proposals or quotations shall be required under the following circumstances. Those circumstances are emergencies, provided the purchase of supplies or equipment or the contract for public works proceeds in accordance with the provisions of general municipal law dealing with emergency acts. The acquisition of professional services, sole source situations provided the purchase of supplies or equipment or the contract for public works is documented in accordance with general municipal law. Supplies or equipment purchased for less than $100, public works contracts for less than $250, and this policy shall be reviewed annually by the town board of Monroe. That being said, gentlemen, I have one question, and that was, do we, in adopting this policy, we have one question regarding the dial-a-bus and repair work. We have a really good repair facility. Peter, yes. Yeah, please.
I think that one of the things that you need to do is the limits that you were reading off. We have to update, if you decide to update your policy to the limits that are now approved by the state, the $20,000 and the $35,000. And if you want to make that adjustment, then you would want to revisit the way the limits are broken out. Like when you say less than $10,000, you want to still keep that if the maximum is 20. Probably would be less than $20,000 because the old limit was 10 and now the new limit is 20. So there would be some adjustment internal on this document of the ranges. You know what I mean?
Why would, if we're going to comply with the new state law limits, why would we need to make adjustments on this part, which is already a reflection of the state law?
Because if your new limit is 20,000, but you're going to say if they exceed 10,000, that you have this constraint, like number 3, purchases less than 10,000. 10,000 is the old number. The new number is 20. So if it's less than $20,000, but more than say 10, then you can change what you require with different amounts, because everything's been increased with the new state law.
Right, but we're not asking to do anything other than comply with current law. So this
Could leave it the way it is.
We could leave it right.
And still be compliant.
Right.
The state laws, you don't have to have access, you can go that way.
But if your limit's going to be $20,000, but you're going to do the limitation at $10,000, is that the way you want to proceed?
Yeah, but wouldn't that be a good review instead of?
No, not necessarily.
Why don't we leave it the way it is?
That's what I'm saying. Do it the way it is.
The limits as they are almost artificially low because they haven't been changed, as Peter.
Since 2009.
So this was and actually it's more for highway than anywhere else.
Right. Because they have a lot of expensive equipment.
So if you keep it the way it is, you've limited the highway department to capital expenditures of $10,000 without it being some board action to approve.
It's really, it's for the benefit primarily for the highway.
Well, at this point, it doesn't matter, because anything we review, we bring to the town board attention anyway. So if we have an extreme purchase or a large expenditure, we always send an email. So even if you leave the limits the way they are, we still, have to go before the board with anything purchased.
All right.
Up till,
this was to make it.
We can change it later if we have to. We can change it later. Leave it the way it is. We don't have to change it now.
I think what we're looking at here is in the handbook, page 520, on purchasing. This is an old copy of it, and these numbers haven't been updated. And there's dollar amounts in here. There's probably about 15 or so, including $100 supplies of equipment purchased for less than $100. If we're increasing from 10,000 to 20,000, maybe we want to go from 100 to 200. So maybe what we should do is rewrite this page the way that the board would like to look. Put those numbers in, and have that right in front of us so we can look at it.
Because those expenses are more common, so we shouldn't have to revisit every time.
Gentlemen, then whenever we revisit this, we'll go over it again.
Good idea, Dan.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Good idea, Dan.
We're moving right along.
This is the allied biological permits for Round Lake, for the chemicals and the grass carp. We have a permit request, a permit application for Navigate, Coutrine Plus, and Clipper to be administered at certain times throughout the season. This is for the authorization to notify
The public.
the
Residents with
Jim, please help me out.
This is your.
There are so many permits on this.
You're notifying the people whose properties abut or have rights to the lake that you are authorizing the application of these approved chemicals and uses. That's what you're authorizing Allied Biological to use these things in compliance with the new, what they call the New York State DEC permit requirements. You have to notify the department.
Outside and herbicide.
Outside herbicides, right. And you're notifying the people who have property rights or property abutting lakes, as you are required to do by state law, so that these people can apply those things. And the people with the property are aware of what's being put in there. And then that way you're required that they can go ahead and do their
Right. There's also the requirement to authorize the town supervisor to submit the $1,500 application fee to the DEC through Allied Biological. I need to make a motion for $1,500 to authorize the supervisor, $1,500 for the New York State Department of Environmental and Conservation for the permit application fee.
Is that for speedies and NYSDC
No,
here?
no, this is for
Permitting.
Permitting.
The permitting, I got it.
Right.
DEC, I'll second the motion. I see it.
Gentlemen, any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Okay, so I can sign that off. next.
Do you need any motions for the navigate treatment or anything
No,
else
we
for
have
the
that.
money?
We
Okay.
just did that.
I thought you were making a motion specifically for the permit.
That is the permit, we have that in the budget to do the work, but the permit is separate.
Okay, separate.
So we put into the 2014 budget the money for the trees. This is for the permitting.
The last thing of the package.
Just want to make sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, this is a little bit dry information, but we're moving along, we're getting through the agenda. We're at the part for the authorization for the website specs to send out, to go out for an RFP. This is a website proposal, it's an RFP for specification of website and foil, a 311 citizen government solution web center system for the town of Monroe. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can keep it down, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably going to be one of the linchpins of what the town will be doing and providing information in the very near future on a level which reflects the existing technology, the type of technology that many communities are using and embracing. We discussed this at the last board meeting. We've gone out for we've gone out for a creation of a website which would approximate the needs of all the departments. The vendor that we selected went out, interviewed everyone, discussed their needs from the highway to the dial-a-bus, to the town, to the different town offices. This also would be for a 311 call-in center that would be able to triangulate and approximate the needs of the community relative to the different departments. For example, with and you had spoken, I guess, with the gentleman for the work about, for example, a pothole repair. Pothole repair would come in, it would be on coordinates would be on an iPad. You would be notified. You'd be able to immediately find out where that was. That would be again triangulated with Google Maps to be able to show exactly where it was when it was done. It would get signed off, and there would be then a check-off list, so that whoever the department head that handled it would be able to take it off. That would be just one example.
And that's great, as long as we have the manpower and the resources to do that.
Okay. Well,
You have a certain length of time to repair anything like that.
Again, this is as simple as.
I think it'll complicate the needs quite dramatically.
Okay.
It's a good suggestion, but I think it should be reviewed further.
Well, this is where we're going to be moving forward. So we look forward. The town of Wallkill, there are a number of municipalities throughout the state that's using this type of tablet-based system to be able to get the information in. For example, if there's a water main break, same thing. You would call in. The water main break would be approximated where it is. Then the call out would come in, and we would be able to generate the information there. In the case of Mary Ellen would be able to use the town clerk would be able to use the process to be able to find out where her licenses are, where they're going out, some of the things that are allowed by law, and those things which aren't covered obviously would be exempt. So we're looking at each and every department. The building department, for example, again, would be able to use it to be able to track work that's done, that's not done. They're already using a tablet-based system. This is Ben Maldonado and his assistant. They're already in the process of using a tablet-based system with a very simple language that we've worked on together, and it's having success. So there's no reason to suspect that this wouldn't be. One of the highlights of this one would be the streaming. This would be all of the information that the town has, all of the board meetings, any of the events. Everything would be there, even things like the work that's being done at the highway department. That work would be available. It would be archived so that if the highway superintendent or any of the department heads needed, they would be able to recompose it or revisit it to see exactly the work that was done so that the town has a better idea, how to account for its services. So that being said, I need a request to make a resolution to go out for an RFP, a request for proposal, subject to certain small changes in language that the attorney had mentioned earlier. And this is for the website and the FOIL, and the 311.
Right, we're going with the request for proposals.
Request for proposal.
Consistent with the specs that are going to be published with the notification. They think that we're going to just change a little bit of some of the language in the specs themselves. So you're going for the request for a proposal for a website, for somebody to come up with the website consistent with the specifications and how it's going to include with the notice.
I'll make a motion that we put out an RFP and, as the attorney said, to come up with a website consistent with the specifications that will be published in order to show their design consistent with such specifications.
Okay. That being said, with the,
You got a second?
we need a second.
I'll second it.
Call question?
Aye.
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 No discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion?
We just did, I guess.
My apology, listen, I'm just trying to sort this out.
I think it's a great idea, and it's, many of the people in the public want us to move ahead with it, and I'm glad that we are going to now move ahead with it. And it's, I think it's going to work out to be very nice.
I think it'll be ease of communication with
Yeah, I have one question, that's the council. The RFP, usually we advertise this. However, is it appropriate, there are probably a half a dozen vendors out there, and they're probably scattered throughout the United States. This is not something where you have to have a local resident vendor there, even though the upkeep and maintenance is somebody that you may want to have local. Is it all right if we make direct solicitations to the vendors?
The reality is that if someone is in this field and interested in providing this service, they're going to know where to look.
Okay.
And where they look is where the notification is, which is the publication.
Okay.
If there are people who are interested, that have expressed an interest, then you just tell them the RFP has been published, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a situation where somebody claims that they got an unfair advantage, or somebody else was given an unfair advantage because they were contacted more directly than notice was allowed. So if somebody has indicated an interest in providing their services, today you authorized it to be published as an RFP with the specs in it. The specs will be posted with it. That's how they find out.
Just an idea, can we put it on our website anyway? The RFP?
Yeah.
It's just an idea.
No, we can put it on our website, that's fine.
I mean, because a lot of people...
For the same reason.
Right, for the same reason.
If they're in, anybody that's in the field where they're doing this type of work, for anybody that has anything to do with municipalities, they know that this is the process. They look it up. If you remember when we did the phone one, they came back, the electric one, the bid, people came back, they were waiting for it, so tonight the gas one, right. They'll know to look, but if somebody has indicated, hey, I'd like to be involved in that, then all you do is say, at the May 5th meeting, the board authorized it to be published, a request for bids, and then they go, I'm sorry, request for proposals, then they go through the process everybody else will do.
All right. Okay.
Very good.
That being said, gentlemen, and again, the material that's going to go out for the RFP is pretty extensive, so if you'd like to, I will read it, but I would prefer that
It's going to be revised.
Let's just vote.
So, we call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
The next is for the authorization of the supervisor to sign a notice of termination for the landfill speedies permit. As many of you know, the landfill has been was covered a number of years ago. This was an action which was required by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We had a settlement. This is the we need to submit a notice of termination for the stormwater construction permit and this is for the Town of Monroe landfill closure. This will terminate coverage of the stormwater permit and nullify the invoice fee. This is the last step at the, I believe, at the closing of the landfill regarding the speedies permit for the DEC. So we need a motion to that effect, authorizing the town supervisor to sign off on that.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
As a clarification, you should also include in the record that the environmental engineers involved in this have signed off on it, and it's a request that they've been advised from the DEC that this needs to be filed.
Exactly. The NOT.
Yes.
Notice of termination. The notice of termination was filled out by an engineer.
Yes.
And that would have been Sterling Environmental. We've been using them from the onset about, Peter, 8-9 years ago, I guess?
To the landfill.
To land,
Yes.
Judge?
And it's for the record to have down that your engineer signed off on this and is advising you that the DEC requires a formal signing.
Yeah, the NOT requires.
I have it right here.
That's been read into the record. This is the landfill that is being closed now, that we're going to do a study on to find out the best use of it for the town. So we're moving forward. Let's see what happens next.
And that means a vote. Call the question.
Call the question, please.
Aye.
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 And gentlemen, I believe that we need an authorization to pay an outstanding
No,
balance, no?
the balance will be nullified on your subdivision agreement.
Right, it says right in the...
121.59
No, right.
Yep.
It will be no.
There is a, under new business, the
Excuse me, Supervisor, did you have something to say, Rick?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up some of the other issues, if you don't mind. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're
I was
gonna,
gonna ask if you would be so kind as to go back to the minutes that you brought up earlier on April 7th and April 21st, 2014. We can get that out of the way now.
sure. This is for approval of minutes for April 7th. Dalton, Quaid, Burke, and Cologne were present.
Correct. I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes for the April 7th, 2014 meeting of the town board.
I'll second the motion.
All right, for discussion, on the first page, we had Rick Cologne, councilman, present, April 7th. He wasn't there, it says absent below, so I guess it was just a typo. And on page 7, where it says Public Safety Department, 2 full-time, part-time employees, excuse me, last line of that paragraph, approval to hire 2 part-time public safety officers at the rate of, it should be $24 per hour. There was a typo there. That's the only things I saw. Other than that, it was great.
Call the question on that?
Aye.
Aye.
Rick?
Abstain,
He wasn't there.
I was not there.
The April 21st, Dalton, Quaid, Burke, Cologne were there.
I'll make the motion we accept the minutes for April 21st, I'm sorry, 2014, as written.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Is a request for training hours from Anthony Pisano on the ZBA. This is an attached letter. It indicates that he did take the classes that were in question. I have submitted the documentation that I in fact completed the 5 hours in 2012 and the 4 hours in 2001. I have also, I can't read this, completed 5 hours in 2014, and we see no reason why that's not sufficient and adequate to be able to meet the requirements under the zoning board continuing education requirements. It doesn't require a motion, just Mr. Pisano, I'd ask that we bring it up. We have a request for the boathouse for petty cash in the amount of $500. In the past years, we've had nothing, and it's become a little problematic. We just need some kind of a petty cash, and to be able to deal with the day-to-day operations.
I'll make the motion that we establish a boathouse petty cash in the amount of $500 for the town of Monroe.
Any discussion?
I'll second the motion.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a request from Clip Technologies. This is the contract for from 2014 to 2015. These are our hardware and software people. They're the ones who keep things running. They've been doing this for a number of years. They have a darn good idea as to our system, and we're also very pleased that they've been able to deal with some of the technologies that we've asked them to be able to adapt. For example, many members of the board members all have an iPad, so all of the information is now digitized, and they're able to be able to communicate immediately with those. The highway superintendent has been offered one for his use, and whenever you feel comfortable, we'll take you for training and do whatever you need to be able to familiarize yourself with the iPad. We also have the building department is using Apple as its language base to be able to facilitate, and they are extremely pleased with the heightened amount of information which is brought from in the field back to their office. So the technology parts, while some of us are not comfortable with, Clip has done a really good job at trying to integrate different languages as well as some of the software that we need to be able to communicate effectively. All of us are now on Microsoft Outlook. Seems like it's not a big thing, but it's great now because it's on the server. So we're very fortunate to be able to have that. We are looking at expanding some of our software and service capabilities, especially in tandem with the expanded website. And as a result, you're with me? Right, I have it over here.
Okay, thank you.
We have it, so we're looking forward to just keeping them going. The rate is for labor will be invoiced at approximately $80 per hour. These are all very competitive, reasonable rates, and we see no reason, at least I don't. I work with them now on a daily basis, and I would recommend to the board that we sign up on the contract.
I'll make a motion that we sign off on the contract for Clip Technologies Incorporated.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
This is IT, we need it.
Call the question?
I just want to mention one thing, so the public hears it. It's a one-year contract, but either party may cancel this agreement with such cancellation made in writing within a minimum of 30 days notice. And just so people know, if they're unhappy with us or we're unhappy with them, it can't be changed. We can't look elsewhere.
Okay, call the question, gentlemen.
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is for the Monbassia Park dead tree removal. We have a gentleman up there, Mr. Frank Smith, who's been with us for a couple of years. He does a very, very good job. He and the building and maintenance are now incorporated together as one entity. But Frank is in charge of that Monbassia as well as the grounds over at Faber Farm. He has indicated that there are approximately 20 trees, in his opinion, that need to be removed or to be trimmed. We asked him to go out for a bid for it. We have one bid so far and that's to remove approximately 15 trees and prune 3. However, since he's looking for 2 other bids, we can't discuss the value, but I just wanted to make you aware of what was going on. I take no position on this other than if Frank says it needs to get done. I think it's worthwhile. The only part of this that I would say is that there's a removal charge which isn't separated out from the quotes. And if we can just dump the trees over at our landfill, we might be able to save some of the money there. Obviously, we don't want to use, or I think the board doesn't want to use the resources of the highway department to do this. They can obviously be put to much better use than this. And I just wanted to let the board know what was going on, so that if there's any issues or any recommendations, let me know, and I'll certainly act accordingly.
Thank you.
I have a comment from Highway. Once you establish this website and tablet formation and people calling, writing, electronically sending information for services needed, the additional manpower is going to be needed to do all these calls and requests.
No, not at all.
How do you know?
Because you'll be doing it, I'll be doing it, people, you have somebody already assigned there, we'll be doing it.
Do you realize what Highway does on a regular basis? Not to be disrespectful, we have 5, we're
I was
replaced
able
by
to smart,
5
I know
men.
what you do when you have, and you and I both know what I do. When you have an emergency, I'm there with you.
This is not speaking of
So I do know what you
emergencies.
do.
This
I'm
is
down
me
there.
on a regular basis.
On a
Right
regular
now, our
basis.
Highway requested for 2 part-time employees, which I thank the board for adopting. We would need additional 2 part-time employees to even keep up with the additional work that we're getting.
Well, in,
Something to consider from Highway's point of view.
well, if I may,
Of course.
just in that vein, because the only other thing, you may have a point on something, that with this new access, we may have to have somebody just to handle like a lot of polls and routing and a lot of, we may be opening up quite a bit more information that we're not used to. It's just something for the rest of the board to consider. It's not really off the wall. I mean, because we're going to be doing a lot more with redirecting information. People want inquiries, they'll be adding emails. Maybe we can get interns from the high school to do it. It's just something that we should consider before, as we move towards this technology.
I believe it should be all
It's just,
investigated before.
Can I make a comment on this?
Sure.
This is being done in a lot of different towns, and maybe everybody's not fully understanding. What it is doing is, that person who's driving down the road at 10 o'clock at night and hits that pothole, a lot of people, they're on computers, is going to go home, and instead of picking up the phone and not getting a live person, because people get very frustrated when they're not getting a live person.
Right.
Now they've made that report.
Right.
Now it's there, and the type of system that it is going to be is going to track it. That resident from home will be able to track and see, did Mary Ellen answer that request? Did it get to the proper place? It's going to be tracked. And something that's very important, especially with a pothole, because we all know if you're not the first one to report it, and you hit that pothole and you're the first one who hits it, your tire doesn't get paid for it. Now, if I'm the second person, thank you first person, because you're out of money, but my tire is paid for. So this is, I think you need to look at it, but this is technology today, and this is the way people live, and the way they want to see things done. They want to, people move it, they're moving, they're like this, moving. They want to be able to do it, not pick up a phone, nobody's answering, or put on hold, or, I really think that take a good look at this, because this is the way to move forward.
Mary Ellen, that's a great point. That's a great comment. The only problem is, once the technology goes to actual services needed, okay, it might be a manpower issue, that's all I'm saying.
But, okay, Tony, and no disrespect, and don't take this the wrong way, but that pothole doesn't
No,
change.
exactly.
It's the same pothole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree with you.
you're getting that call, so you're telling me that if we go into this system, that that's gonna give you more work,
It-
like the work's there anyway.
Yeah, but there's gonna be a
It's just getting
3-1,
reported better.
but there's gonna be an information at 311 where people are gonna ask for different services and time. It's just all, he's just bringing up the idea. It's more than just a pothole.
Multiply that times 20, 30.
Maybe,
That's what's gonna happen. I
maybe
talked
something
to other
different.
superintendents in other towns.
That-
But, you know, we can
want-
try it.
You
We
want
can
to
try
try it? And if you're gonna need more manpower, then you're gonna need more manpower. The
Absolutely.
bottom line is service to the residents.
Absolutely, taxpayers come first.
That's the bottom line.
No, I totally agree. Thank you, I totally agree with you. We need more manpower.
And Tony, we've sent this on.
In accordance to what Mary Ellen said and what Tony was saying, the fact of the matter is, like, when you get emails today, it's not like it used to be where an office closed and you wouldn't, as a town board member, you wouldn't get many late phone calls unless it was an emergency. And weekends were, in a lot of cases, people didn't work that much on weekends. But in the private industry where I work, and also in public sector, public service, you get emails on weekends, late at night, and if you do have a late schedule or whatever your work schedule is, you can answer them at all hours. You can answer them on weekends. Perfect example is the emails that a lot of the board members received about the cell tower from the neighborhoods that was in question. And it was, you know, things were answered late at night, things were sent late, things were sent on weekends and answered on weekends. And it's all, I know Tony does what he has to do, but it's a matter of, it does get a little busier if you're the one answering these questions and answering these things or processing them. But as far as like the different departments, you have to then constantly be in a prioritization mode, a triage of sort, especially where Tony's involved. He's going to make decisions of what needs to be handled first. And at least he'll have the information given to him, you know, in writing on the emails, computer, or, you know, the website to his department. I think it's only going to help make everyone more efficient. Will it add a need for more manpower? Maybe it will. We'll see.
We'll see, that's all.
And if anybody wants to, and I'll try to get this posted, Microsoft has their Open 311, and I believe there's one for highway departments. I will try to post it on the Channel 22, work with George, so that the public can get an idea as to how this Open 311 system works with highways to report potholes and other instances that highway departments are confronted with on a daily basis. And this way, people become a little bit more familiar just with that one particular department and what technology is there and what part of this RFP incorporates. That being said, there's a motion. It's something that came up under new business. We have Councilman Cologne had asked. This is regarding a public comment at to be able to for it to be done at the Pine Tree School. Rick, please go right ahead.
Judging by the amount of people we have here today, I would say almost 200 plus people. This board has generated an extraordinary interest by the town people in our business. That being said, for better or for worse, fantastic. Because what we do here includes, and it affects everybody out there, and even the people who couldn't make it in. The only reason that I suggest, at least for public comment, is because we would be able to handle everybody that's here and many of the people who are standing in the back. The fact that you people came here and took time out of your day is important to us. It's very important to me, because myself, like many of you out there, I get up very early, 5 o'clock in the morning, every day to go to work, try to catch up with everything else. It's a late night for all of us. And hats off to everybody who came here out of their busy day after work to sit here hour after hour to listen to the dry stuff. I would like to see, at least if we can accommodate more people during public comment at the school, at least start it out and see what kind of response we get. Anyone else? I mean, all I hear is crickets, you know. I would like to make that motion to move the public comment.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Can I do this, right?
Joe,
Actually,
do we have a count tonight?
there's one part of
Count
this.
tonight, I'm sorry.
Remember, Pine Tree is located in the village. So if this were to go through, a couple of things. I believe that the state troopers do not have the authority to be able to go in. This is something, the village, we would have to ask the village of Monroe. If, I understand again from council, from strictly from a liability issue, that we would need to ask the village to supply security, also for the board to ask the village board, sorry, the school board, what indemnification they need from
I
insurance.
don't think that's quite right. If any place that this board decides to have the meeting within the town is well within our jurisdiction. And we've been invited by the superintendent.
Council,
My liability, excuse me.
You have, the invitation from the school is also contingent on following the school's procedures to obtain their facility, which requires identification agreements, requires applications to be filed, requires hiring custodial support, requires hiring.
Inspector?
I'm just answering a question, if you don't mind, let me finish, it'll be easier. It also requires hiring and making arrangements for their security. The question that was brought up was what other security we would be allowed to have, and whether or not it would require the village police to be there as opposed to the state police. Those are issues that would need to be worked out if we were going to have a meeting at a facility other than this one, no matter where that facility is, no matter what school it is, if it's a school. Those were the issues that came up. So if that's what the board's pleasure is, then I can contact the school district and find out if those issues are fixable and what your.
But I believe before you got here, Mr. Devlin, didn't we discuss this once before? And then we had this issue brought up. I believe our public safety officer, Mr. Brown, had discussed it with school, and then there were some other issues as far as maintenance cleanup. We can look into it a little further, but I think we should do it.
What happened last time was our head of safety, Mr. Brown, went over to one of the schools, I believe it was Pine Tree Elementary, and he went through it with one of the supervisors at the school. He did his own evaluation, but as far as I know, it didn't go into really doing the indemnification, insurance, or setting up, paying, or hiring the custodial staff that would have to be there. It was mentioned briefly, but I guess we could, as a board, we can go forward and ask our attorney to look into it and see what the actual numbers are and what the situation is. But as to my knowledge, Rick, it never got past that.
It never got past the discussion stage. That's why I want to try and bring it to the board, so at least we can give it some very serious. We have 200 people here. We've never had that previously. I'm saying before this board got in place. But going back over the years, past practice, you were lucky to get 50, 60 people. I think if we're generating this kind of interest, in all honesty,
Actually, in history, there were a few big, in certain issues that came up over the years, there
yeah,
were
but
a few big crowds here and
consistently
there.
we are getting this
All right.
on a regular basis. Hats off to the people who showed up. And, you know, I mean, it's hard enough for all of us. I know some people even get up at 4:30, whatever. They have to be into the city. It's a long day.
Yes.
And I think in keeping our meetings short, concise, to the point, and where everybody can get in, I think it's a start. And we got to reach out to the people who are trying to be part of it.
To your point, Rick, one thing is changing the venue, which is something that will be looked into. That doesn't necessarily mean the meetings would have been longer or shorter. Just to let the public know that that's not the issue.
That was another one of my issues.
I know you brought that wasn't this issue.
Right, that is correct.
That being said,
This first came up in January when we had 260 people come to a meeting and not all could get inside. But since then, the totals coming to the meetings have been 230, 219, 228, 146, 66, 165, and 98.
And what does that tell us?
And tonight is 2005. 200. It means that everybody that wants to come inside is able to come inside. So we're not leaving people out in the parking lot in the rain or the cold or anything like that. Everybody is inside. I think the reason for moving to Pine Tree was because we were overflowing. We're not overflowing now.
Well, Virgo, can I ask you a question? Was anyone not allowed to come in tonight, or was everyone allowed to come in? Okay, everyone was allowed to come in tonight. There are people standing in the back. Excuse me, can I speak for a moment? I do want to note one thing. The head of security said that everyone was allowed in that came to the building tonight, but there are quite a few people, I'd say about at least 2 dozen at least people standing in the back, so that is noted.
What my point is this. It has dropped off because we said that we would only allow a certain amount of people. And I think we turned other people away. The fact that we had 265, we can easily probably get, I'll bet you next week's paycheck, we can probably get about almost 300 of this dial. Let's try to be more inclusive and not exclusive. We got enough issues with the board. We got to reach out to the people. I mean, we do good things here on this board. Not everything is bad. No, it's not. But let's get more people to recognize that and get them on our side. Let's reach out. Let's get people into the board meetings that want to come with a public comment. Try it once. It can't hurt.
I'm not against it.
No, okay.
I would just say that, to clarify one thing though, you know, with all due respect, when you mention not everything the board does is bad, I just want people to realize, I would counter that with not everything the board does is popular, and that's part of why when we sit here, it's a tough job, but I have no problem in investigating this further. If we want to look into, figuring out what the numbers are, maybe have the attorney look into the insurance issue. So I don't have an issue with that. Does this have to go to a vote, or do we have to, it's an open motion, right?
we need to find out the details. Whatever the board.
So the motion was to find out the details,
Right, we need to find.
Let's find out the details. Let's address it at the next meeting and have a vote on it.
Okay. I
mean, I don't expect a vote today, but I wanted to have an open forum, an open discussion. We've got to get this out. When you have 200 people who are coming to a town board meeting, where historically we were lucky to get 25 to 30,
so then we'll look forward to investigating it?
Yes.
Okay. Is you going to withdraw the motion and vote on it now? Wait till...
Well, yeah, we have to get clarification from the attorney.
Okay.
As part of our investigation of the facility, we should also look to see if there might be some other facilities in the town of Monroe that are, you know, one that are not in the village.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep it down, please.
That are not in the village where the village police are required, or not in a school building where we're required to follow school rules. There are a lot of other facilities in the town of Monroe. So as we ask our staff to check this out, let's see if we can get a list of buildings that would be adequate for a large town board meeting. And see if we have some other options.
Fine.
That being said, the board has directed me to investigate the issue. Well, I'll get back. Also, I'll ask council to contact the village regarding the requirements for use of their security, their police, and what the costs associated would be.
Also the insurance.
And the insurance. Can we move on to the next subject? That is for the
G. No, I'm sorry.
This is under education. This is for a 2014 purchasing forum and classes for Peter Martin and myself to attend. This is the New York State Purchasing Forum and Trade Show up in Albany. I spoke with Peter. It's 2 days, but I think we'll commute back and forth. So rather than there being a cost associated with overnight, we'll make the trip. Either figure out which car to use, but
Albany?
It's up in Albany. So it's the 2014 Purchasing Forum and Trade Show.
I'll make the motion
What's the
to,
supervisor, I'm sorry, the highway superintendent like to attend, or is there somebody, again, part of this is secured for the, part of this is secured for the, for highway. There's a large integration of highway. Would you like to attend, or would you like to send somebody? Okay, so then can we make a motion for Peter, myself, and the third person to attend? This is on, sorry, I believe the 13th and 14th. The 13th and 14th of May. So it's next week.
I'll make a motion for the education for the 2014 purchasing forum and classes for Peter Martin, supervisor, and another member to be named later to attend in May, and not to exceed, why don't we make it $1,000?
No, it's not.
Well, there's another person going from 700.
No, but that's if we
Is that why don't you just do a not to exceed and just bring the bills in? Not to
I don't have
exceed.
enough to exceed this because
Okay. And also to attend the meeting.
there's no charge.
Okay. Cover all the commuting expenses for the people who go. I need a second.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Learning.
Call the question, gentlemen.
Aye.
The next one is for education for Dan and myself. This is a May 27th. I believe I may have to bow out of this. I have an accounting class up in Malta for 3 days. But this is a free program. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep it down. We're trying to move forward. This is a pipeline safety. This is local pipeline and gas distribution companies are hosting a pipeline safety program that includes a meal, presentations, critical emergency responses. It has to do with pipeline safety initiatives and some leak detections. It's something which we will at least have greater familiarity with in case there's ever an accident. And again, it's one of these instances where somebody from highway would like to attend. We're more than happy to attend.
Yeah, it'll be 2 personnel attending that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion for the education with the pipeline safety for Dan Burke, the supervisor to attend. If the supervisor can't make it, I'll try and make it. And also for 2 highway personnel to attend. Additional.
And that's for 4 people, then it's
For
over
4 people.
It's over in Middletown, so it's, and there's no charge.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
The next one is a this is regarding our clear cutting at the Forge Ed site. However, this is a, Mr. Galvin, please correct me, this is currently a planning board related issue and not under the authority of the town board. This is planning board and the building inspector.
Yeah, this has already been before as part of your IDA that you approved. The issue was some of the work was done before the formal passage of the agreement, and then the work was stopped until the passage of the agreement, and then then it became under the control, if you will, of the planning board and building inspector, who are now dealing with it.
Okay. I spoke with the planning board chairwoman of the engineer for the planning board, for the town, and also to the building inspector. And they're well aware of what's gone on and what the issues are, and they are working in conjunction, although in their opinion, it is at this point, it is a planning board issue because of the way things evolve, and it will continue to be looked at, and in the future, it'll come to some kind of resolution. But it has been looked at and will continue to be so.
Just a note, just one note, it's not planning, it would not be before a building inspector, code enforcement.
Well, yes, I'm sorry. He's the code enforcement officer also. So I didn't specify that, but the building inspector is the code enforcement officer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the last, sorry, not the last, but another, this is regarding setting limits on discussions by board members. I don't know how to process this. Mr. Cologne, this is regarding restricting the board members' public speaking time. Can you read this portion?
We have limitations on how the public can speak. It's about approximately 3 minutes. Some board members get over enthusiastic on what they're trying to explain and may take 20 minutes on something that may take a minute or 2 minutes. That makes for an extraordinarily long meeting sometimes unnecessarily. I just want board members to be cognizant that many people out there have to go to work and get up at all sorts of extraordinary hours. And I think if we try to limit how much enthusiasm we have for certain topics, that we can have at least maybe a 2 or 3 minute comment, or try to limit it by being concise in what we're trying to deal with instead of going on and on. No one in specific, I'm just saying in general, we suffer from that on this board. That's all.
One man's opinion of suffering is another man's opinion to answer questions when the public asks. Excuse me.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is, there's been times in this town board before where, let's use me for an example.
Yes.
When I answered a lot of questions, people from the audience were inclined to yell out to tell me to shut up, stop talking and shut up. And then, hold on, excuse me, let me talk for a moment before you shout. Then when I stopped answering questions, I think it was 3 speakers later, they were imploring me to answer their questions again. So one person's idea of taking too long or going on and answering things too much is another person's request that you answer the question in full. So I mean, it's a matter of opinion and it's subjective, not objective. But thank you for your concerns, Rick.
I'm just trying to make sure that we don't filibuster everybody here till 2 in the morning.
I still have the Lakeside.
That's one.
Okay. We have for the Lakeside authorization for the supervisor to sign the New York Life annuity for Monroe Lakeside.
The LoSAP.
For the LoSAP.
Electric Service Award Program.
This is a request. I have enclosed withdrawal request forms for the New York Life annuity. Please have our trustees, or in this case the town board members, sign the forms where indicated. It is a LoSAP is the program that our volunteers have. It's a service award program which allows them to get a small amount of future benefit in exchange for their dedication for years and years as volunteers for the fire department participation. We need an authorization from the town of from the board for me to sign this.
Yes. I'll make the motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the New York Life annuity for, it says the Monroe Lakeside SAT, is that correct?
Yes.
Should I say LoSAP instead?
Well, it's under SAT, but LoSAP is what we call it.
Okay. SAT regarding the LoSAP program.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that a lot of people don't realize that the amount of time and effort our volunteers put out. This LoSAP is basically a very small pension system, so to speak, in layman's terms, so that when these men and women put in many, many years, decades of time to service the community, they get something, in recognition of this, a little monetary benefit at the end of their volunteer career.
Peter, is there something else?
I have one other.
Yeah,
Call the question. You gotta do it.
Call the question.
Aye.
The attorneys prepared a bid for natural gas.
Right, this consistent with what was done with the electrical services. The comptroller wanted us to do a bid proposal for natural gas services, essentially, along the same lines. So you need to, if you choose to put it out to bid, you need to authorize it to go out to bid, essentially. It is the same idea that they go into, well, Peter, why don't you just, my life easier, and explain what it is.
It gives everyone who's supplying gas, an opportunity to bid on it. It'll go out, if you approve it, we'll put it out, we'll publish it tomorrow. It'll be out for bid. The bid will come, with the bid responses to come at 3 o'clock on the day of your next board meeting, so that the results can be brought to the town board meeting. You'll have the bid results. You can select the low bidder if you so choose. And if you do make that authorization, the bid spec says that the bidder will be notified before 3 o'clock on the following day. So this is a good thing, because what we're doing is getting these suppliers to hold their price for 24 hours, which is about the limit of what they'll do it, because it's a pretty volatile market. And it should produce some savings for the town.
So, council, how do we form this?
Make a resolution.
Resolution 12 and 24 months.
Make a resolution to go out to bid for select natural gas services, consistent with the documents that'll be published in the paper.
I'll make the motion that we go out for the bid for the natural gas services for the town, consistent to the bid documents that will be published in the paper tomorrow.
I'll second the motion.
Published in the paper.
Any discussion?
So let me just say, folks, you have the same opportunity at home. I've gotten stuff in the mail about using a different source for natural gas. I went on, and it was a lower price. I went on a website, and there was 7 or 8 people, companies bidding for my business. And the cost is actually 33% below what I was paying. So just as we're doing this now to save the town some money, take a look and see what you can do with your own gas bill at home.
Okay. John, call the question then?
Aye.
Aye. We have under the e-waste collection agreement, this is a waste collection agreement for electronic computers, media, miscellaneous monitors, etc. There is currently no charge from this particular company except for on-site shredding purposes. Mary Ellen, I know that you've been working on putting this together.
No, Lorraine has put this together, and my understanding is that they will take your computer, and if you wanted them to wipe it clean right there in front of you, they will charge you $6 and give you a certificate stating it is wiped clean. Or you can just give it to them, and they take it and shred it and wipe it clean at their leisure. So it's much cheaper than the last company we were using. They had upped the rates up to $20. We are looking into a few other avenues. More so, this will be great if this company works out. There is another company I am looking at, but my thing is more that to be able to offer this service maybe once a month, and have the company come in. I did look into having a bin left, and after speaking with council, I had some reservation on it, and we both agreed that it would be a huge liability for the town. So going the route of just having the company come in on a Saturday, or during the week one day, work that out and come in, drop off, and leave. Then we don't have a huge liability.
And then it just becomes where we're going to.
And where we would have stored it and worried about break-in, somebody's identity could be stolen. So this is the route to go, but we're looking for a company that's going to give us, the most for, our money, or the residents' money. So we're going to hold it with this company. I do have another company I'm speaking with, but $6 is a lot cheaper than $20, so it's definitely in the right direction.
Right, and then it's just a question of site to be determined.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now you have one that they're doing on June 7th that Lorraine had set up, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that is at the highway, I believe, on June 7th. Okay, so.
June 7th falls on what day? So, to open it every day, will we then have to provide resources, manpower for that?
We'll have to, I'm not sure on this, the attorney looked at this contract.
Because we're not budgeted, the reason is because we're not budgeted. I'm not familiar what the contract, our union contract says, that we open, we have to have 2 people, we have to have 2 people for that period of time.
Highway superintendent, that's his lots of it.
It's actually up to the budget. If they come in and do that of a trailer like they did before, no charge.
That's something to get worked out.
All right. Let's make, if it's all right with the board, make the motion, and then we can decide where the site is going to be. Again, we want to be able to preserve as much overtime as we need to for the areas that that are most important, and that obviously is during the winter months, when we have some obvious winter-related issues. May I call the gentleman? May I call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, did somebody make a motion on this?
No, no one made a motion.
Okay. We described it thoroughly. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Make the motion
Motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the contract with Tech Recovery.
I'll make the motion for the
EV waste collection agreement.
I'll make the motion for the supervisor to sign the agreement for tech recovery with the company aforementioned.
Tech Recovery is
Tech
actually the name of the company.
recovery. Tech recovery.
The aforementioned company. I'll second that.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally at the part of the privilege of the floor.
I just want to bring up one issue. I'm sorry I didn't put this on the agenda. Just so people, there was some concern from some residents, and a lady came up and did public comment a short time ago, I forget what night it was, and she had discussed her desire for the town to look into becoming have an actual animal shelter as opposed to a dog shelter. And what the town board separately has discussed with each other, and also made available to them some of the previous board members that were here when this had been brought up before, and issues that had happened before with the dog shelter. And the town board just wants to inform that the lady, I don't know if she's here tonight, and some of the people who signed a petition to have an animal shelter, which would include taking care of all kinds of animals, and not just dogs. And the fact of the matter is that the town board at this point is not going to be going ahead to create an animal shelter, because we've seen and heard what's happened in neighboring communities. The supervisor actually went to one of the neighboring communities and saw one of the shelters, and just from previous experience from the other board, at this point we're not going to move forward with that. Just so we answer the question brought up to us previously, we're going to continue to run a dog shelter, as we have been doing for years, and we're going to continue to proudly run that for the community.
Okay, is that it? That's it.
I have some comments. Simple. One, I have to excuse myself, therapy needs. Is there any question from the residents or the town board for highway? Residents. If there's anything needed, please call the highway department or send us an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many people do you think you'll need to run that whole computer program? How many?
I
This is
think
not, this is, again,
it's not even, it's consideration. It's consideration right now by the board, but it has to be investigated, I believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move towards privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity for the Monroe Town Board to encourage public participation at its monthly meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and relate to agenda items. Multiple persons willing to speak regarding the matter are requested to appoint one spokesperson to speak on behalf of all the parties. At the discretion of the town superintendent, an acknowledgement of the public comment, either orally or in writing, will be provided with an appropriate time frame. As a matter of practice, the town board does not engage in dialogue during the public comment. Although the town board welcomes comments about departments and the programs that we offer and the efforts of its staff, the discussion of matters relating to specific individuals is expressly prohibited. The first speaker.
Michael, it starts with a G. I can't even read your last name.
Michael, let me just say, we're going to time this at 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this iPad on. I hope you can see it. Okay?
Knock yourself out.
Okay, but you usually make your point real sharp and quick. Okay.
I would like to thank Mr. Cologne for offering an olive branch, and I think it's about time we return to the agenda item, privilege of the floor, to the way it was in September, October, and November of last year. And that anybody with the time restrictions of 3 minutes should be allowed to speak on any topic they wish. And if the topic is something which would cause a lawsuit to the board, they don't have to answer it. But they should be allowed to express what's on their mind. And that's the way this has been for years, probably decades. The second thing, I understand that we're going forward with a lot of things for television. I will ask why the village board meeting was on television, and yet the half hour to 45 minutes of discussion on Cablevision didn't make it. I think that's as important as it affects everybody here. And the last thing, which is near and dear to my heart, in tonight's packages, we have boilerplate on top of boilerplate on top of boilerplate for every contract that is written to do business with this town. I would like the town to do the same thing when we write contracts, so that if we have, for instance, a highway contract, there is a penalty for not paying on time. Thank you very much.
Carol Farrar?
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Well, 3 minutes is tough for me. I'm going to give it a whirl. Hello. Mr. Cologne, thank you for being a voice of reason among unreasonable people. Very rarely, although tonight you did answer a question, do I ever hear questions answered at this meeting, ever. What occurred about the 5th board member was a sham, if nothing else. When the United Monroe garnered the 2nd highest vote, how you cannot...
Excuse me, we are staying strictly on agenda issues. We're not going to we will not discuss other political entities, their involvement in any process. We will not discuss it. We will not discuss it.
Okay, forget it.
Ma'am, we won't discuss it.
I said, all right,
Okay.
okay? Good, all right.
The fifth board seat was funded.
Yeah, it's on the
We're not discussing political parties. We're not discussing the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. We're not discussing a political party.
Okay, well, Mr. McWaters would have been a fine candidate, but he was dismissed so nonchalantly, and to me, if you really want to bring this town together, sadly, you represent one portion of this town. You don't represent all of us. Mr. Cologne's candidate really received a great deal of applause, and I firmly believe, but that's it, okay. Then when we were discussing the cell tower, and you shook your head in disbelief, Mr. Burke, that you said that people shake their heads in disbelief about how people leave meetings. That's how we leave this meeting. We shake our heads in disbelief. And you discussed $200,000 for this secret process. You discussed putting up a cell tower to get money. And now I will be thrown off, but that's okay. Why in heaven's name are we opening up bathrooms at the cost of $3,000 a month when we need money for other things? $3,000 a month, you can lower my taxes. We don't need $1 million bathroom. For years, that movie theater was closed, and people managed to go to the bathroom. People can use local restaurants, local stores. Let them go to the bathroom and not use the movie theater. It's not a bathroom. And then to retrofit it. Give me a break.
And just for the edification of the board. Should be for the edification of the board.
He's in my shot, right?
You gotta get out of the shot.
Yeah.
Lorraine Lois?
You ready, Dan? The time? Go. Okay, my name is Lorraine Loning. I live in the village of Monroe. Before I get to my prepared remarks, I just want to make a comment about the fifth board member. I think the people you mentioned were both honorable men, but that's the point. They're men. I'm kind of, when I come to these meetings, I feel like I'm being lectured to by my dad a couple times a month. Maybe a different point of view would be in order. Someone younger, could we find a 20-year-old or a woman? Oh my God, how about that? Because I find sometimes this board very patronizing to women by calling women young ladies. That to me is a little patronizing. But anyway, now to the prepared remarks. I have a question about minutes being published on the town's website. To date, only the minutes from meetings on January 6, 27, and February 3 are available. I know there have been many other meetings. I've ignored most of them. Can you let me know when you expect the website to be current? I know that you guys really want to live the spirit of open government, and that would be helpful. Next, I see that Dr. Martin's requesting budget transfers. Relating to that request, during the budget season in the fall, a preliminary budget is posted on the website for the citizens to review. However, the adopted budget is nowhere to be found. And this is a shame because there could be myriad changes being made between preliminary and adopted budget, and the electorate has no way of knowing this. Can you please post the adopted budget on the website? Next, in the agenda package, there are new guidelines for town regarding purchasing, and I see one of the pages is for professional services that says an RFP is required. Yet on an earlier page, it states that, what the hell? No solicitation for the purposes, no written, it states that no solicitation and written proposals or quotes are required for professional services. To me, that's confusing. I was wondering if you guys could clarify that going forward. I know you're going to review it for the next meeting. I would appreciate that. And along those lines, can you tell me which process was conformed to for the hire of the accounting firm, Nugent and Huesler, I believe it was, that the town board agreed to hire on March 24 to close the fiscal year 2013? Which RFP, did they get a written proposal, or was it oral, or what the billing was? And lastly, can you let me know the status of the solar farm down by the old landfill on March 10th, I believe it is, on 2014? The board hired Barton and Lagares to put a proposal together, and I was just interested in what that proposal is yielding. Thank you.
Dr. Anthony Fasano.
Mr. Burke, I respectfully request that you not start my 3 minutes now.
Okay.
Because what I'm speaking about has to do with what was on the agenda item, the new business. Sorry, I am respectfully requesting Mr. Burke not to begin my 3 minutes because I need to discuss what was mentioned about me in new business. Is that okay? I want to just comment on that, and then I can go into my 3 minutes. Is that fair? Board?
We actually should have given you a chance to speak when we did it, but go ahead.
Thank you. The reason I requested that is that I was listed to having no hours of training in a public meeting. And I requested that in a public meeting it be restated that in fact I have completed, as of this point, 15 hours of training. So I was rather disappointed when I foiled and found that I was given no credit. And I simply pointed out, I thank you very much for remediating that situation. Now I'd like my 3 minutes to begin, please. Thank you. I believe that my remarks follow on Mr. McQuaid's remarks about $50,000 that the town would save or accrue by putting in the tower. Am I correct on that, Mr. McQuaid? Let me go forward then.
Is it a possibility? Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Now, I have a plan for the town to save $120,000 a year. The $120,000 a year would be saved if the town would relieve itself of the legal fees, the consultant fees, the electrical expenses, the water usage, the repair, maintenance costs, refuse expenses that currently are accrued or paid out to keep the town board, functioning as the owner of the Monroe Theater.
Sure. You can do that, you can't talk about litigation, he knows that.
I'm not speaking about litigation, sir.
I'm
Would you add on a few extra seconds to interruption?
The concern supervisor. You are a litigant, you were deposed last week, and you were a litigant in the movie theater.
No.
Listen to the attorney.
Respectfully, Mr. McQuaid and Mr. Doles, I'm speaking about income for the town. Okay? Thank you. Furthermore, if the town were to purchase I noticed in the photo news that congregation Haim has his town hall on sale for $3 million, I believe. Now, what you could do was to sell the movie theater.
Is he on the phone?
Can I finish? Are you interrupting me?
Or I think that it might be. I will answer the phone, thank you.
I interrupted again?
No, I apologize for interrupting.
I know you're apologizing, but would you add on another minute for that, please, Mr. Burke? I have to extend myself. I noticed that the photo news published a notice that congregates ECIM, a conservative temple located in Orange Turnpike, is up for sale. Why not sell the movie theater and for approximately $1 million, stop the outflow of $100,000, at least $120,000 a year? I found this information foiled according to the transaction audit trial. For 2013, the amount was $119,000. No movies are shown. For this year,
for only 4 months, the town has spent, according to the same transaction audit trail, $99,000. You could save $200,000 a year by selling a movie theater, buying the temple, and now we have a win-win-win situation. The town board represents itself as interested in the financial being of the congregation of Yitzhayim. The citizens of Monroe who wish to see first-run movies will now be able to do so.
Yeah.
The village can further its plans to revitalize downtown. Merchants will have more business and more tax money will be generated. I refer now once again to Mr. McQuaid's notion about getting income for the town. Now the town saves itself substantial expenses of keeping the Monroe Cinema as it is now. The town acquires an extraordinary building suitable to meet executive, judicial, and cultural needs. There are people who say that you would never consider my proposal, but I hope that you will see that it makes evident good sense. We are good neighbors, and we give people the movie theater that they want. The town saves itself a bundle of money, gets more taxes, and everybody is happy. A win-win-win situation. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My name is Laura Raynoff. I live in the town of Tuxedo, 28 Fawn Hill Road, within the boundary of the Monroe Woodbury School District. Therefore, I have to ask your permission to speak here. I assume, since I have been present at other meetings where non-residents and legislators who are not representatives in the town of Monroe were allowed to speak, that I might be allowed to speak. The issue I'd like to speak on is the proposed annexation by Curious Joel of the town of Monroe, and I assume I am hoping that you will include this on the agenda, because we appropriated $200,000 for that tonight,
The
for that very
discussion, and I
process.
have to interrupt you, the discussion of annexation is not something we can discuss. It's not something that we will permit for discussion. The secret process has not been decided by the DEC.
I understand that.
We cannot allow.
May I?
Are you,
And again, if council advises that this is a fair question, then we're
What
perfectly
you have on
fine.
your, what you cannot comment on is the proposal. If the lady wants to comment on the amount of money that was set aside for a secret review on that issue, then that's on the agenda.
That wasn't my point. May I tell you my main point in one sentence, and you can decide whether or not it's included on the agenda. I live in the town of Tuxedo, not the town of Monroe. I came tonight. I finally had time to prepare a statement. I've been here since January at all the meetings I could come to speak for the unrepresented. I can't vote for you. My town board has no say in the annexation proposal, and I came to speak on behalf of the homeowners who live in the towns within the Monroe Woodbury School District who will be severely and detrimentally affected.
Again, this is council says to deal directly with the $200,000 for the purpose of the seeker review. We will allow you to continue your discussion. Outside of that, it's something which we are not going to, we can't comment, we cannot permit.
I'm not expecting you to respond.
Again, ma'am.
Let her talk.
I'm not asking for answers from you. My basic request, and it is a request, that you gentlemen take into consideration when you consider in the secret process the concerns of people outside of those who can or cannot vote for you. I don't expect you to answer. I know you're not legally obligated to do it. From what I understand your counsel is saying, I would like to speak it. I can do it in far less, I hope, than the 30 seconds left to me. No other representative represents me in this. The school board is doing its best to represent the interests of our children. We moved to Monroe Woodbury, and we moved to the Monroe Woodbury School District in the town of Tuxedo for the school district, for the low density housing, for the small town atmosphere within reach of Manhattan where we have to commute. My kids have benefited from the school district greatly. We love living here. The proposed annexation will detrimentally affect all of us homeowners outside the bounds of Monroe and within the school district hugely. I don't have to describe it to you. All we have to do is look down the road at what happened to East Ramapo.
Yeah.
School district was eviscerated by a high-density population of folks who are not going to send their children to public school. And lest I be accused of ugly motivations, I would oppose any high-density housing to be populated by folks who are not going to send their kids to public school and have no interest in supporting the budget to pay for the excellent public school outside the bounds of transportation and special needs. Second, my main second point, the value of my house, the main investment we have is going to be negatively, severely affected. What family moving into my multi-bedroom house is going to want to come and buy my house in a school district formerly excellent that is going to be eviscerated?
Yes.
My last point.
Your 3 minutes are up.
I'm sorry. I waited for 30 seconds.
1 point?
Okay,
go ahead.
1 point.
Go ahead.
Look who's benefiting, look who's losing here. The beneficiaries of the proposed annexation, I'm sorry, are you guys that got the block vote and the town of KJ, that's 2. The people who are going to be adversely affected are not just the folks you've heard from the town of Monroe for all of the reasons, traffic, sewer, water, environmental, not just the homeowners in Monroe whose property values will go down when the school district is eviscerated, but it's also us living out on the fringes, can't vote up, can't vote down, we just have to sit here and watch. We're being affected too, and I would ask you please to remember there are those of us outside the town. Take us into consideration when you consider that issue. Thank you.
Yes, we can.
Matt Hollinger?
How you doing? Matt Hellinger, Village of Monroe. I've been a resident of Monroe for about 13 years. I've been somebody that was blissfully ignorant as to the local politics up until the previous board purchased that movie theater in town. I found that completely outrageous. I've been attending these meetings since January, and as I watch the meetings, it's like total dysfunction. It's like we the people versus the board. I find it outrageous. Councilman Cologne suggested a member to fill the fifth seat on the board, and the people here seem to appreciate that. I'm going to make a suggestion to the board at this time for consideration at the next meeting, that the 3 councilmen at the board, Burke, McQuaid, and Cologne, submit at the next meeting their candidate for that 5th seat, leaving the supervisor out of the equation.
Yeah.
And then the people at the next meeting in June, to be held at a larger public venue, could actually vote on those 3 candidates that those people. There'll be no partisan on the board. The people that attend the meeting and a public notice at a larger venue can vote for that person to fill that 5th seat for the remaining 6 months of the council. Thank you.
Alice Allen? Hi, my name is Alice Alley. This is my first time speaking at a board. Hi, this is my first time speaking at a board meeting, so I apologize for not being too clear. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Cologne. Your definition of what democracy is was beautiful, and I thought it was right on. Thank you very much for that. I live in the village of Harriman, which is in the town of Monroe, and the town of Monroe is in the state of New York, and the state of New York is a state in the United States of America. And I'm wondering sometimes, especially with the election in November, what country am I in? Because I come to these meetings and I think of my First Amendment right. And it says here the most basic component of freedom of expression is the right to freedom of speech. The right to freedom of speech allows individuals to express themselves without interference or constraint by the government. And when I understand it's a privilege to speak at these meetings, and I have to tell you, I'm disturbed about this annexation push to annex the 500 acres or so, and I'm disturbed about the purchase of the movie theater, especially now that it's being used as a toilet. That disturbs me, but what disturbs me most of all is my restriction on my freedom of speech. I don't understand that. I understand, like you said, it's a privilege to speak at a board meeting. But the way that our rights are restricted is very frustrating to me, and I just have to wonder, what country am I in?
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Morgillo. I've been a town resident of Monroe for 26 years, and currently I'm running for the New York State Assembly, Republican candidate. I have to announce who I am.
But you don't. You're not going to.
Okay, I'm not running.
You're not going to stand here. No, sir.
I recently attended a Cornwall public hearing.
Hold on,
Excuse me, sir.
This is for a moment.
Again,
I'm a town
this is a
resident.
town.
I'm a town resident.
You know you are.
You would not.
I have to announce
sir,
when I am speaking that I'm a candidate.
No, you do not.
Yes, I
That
do.
is something which the
That's not
board,
true, sir.
we have the
Look
discretion
at the
to allow
election
that.
law, I have to announce
Sir,
it,
we are
I
not
have to
going
write
to
it.
allow for public, we are not going to stand there and make speeches, campaign speeches.
I'm not making a campaign speech, I'm making a statement.
I'll be talking about an item on the agenda.
Yeah, I am, that's what I was just gonna, that's it, I'm not making a speech, okay? I recently attended the Cornwall public hearing on the Curious Joel #1 water permit. I listened for nearly 2.5 hours while resident taxpayers were permitted to speak without any restrictions, giving their opinions, and it was very informative. No one was denied access or stopped if the presentation deviated from the subject. Mr. Supervisor, maybe you should allow our taxpayers to speak at each board meeting on any subject without first having to list it at the beginning of the meeting. Denying the public their right of free speech is despicable and steps on our constitutional rights. You even turn up the heat and play childish games like prolonging the agenda. I find your representation of the people unprofessional. Abraham Lincoln once said a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But how would you know? I believe your favorite politician is Karl Marx.
Excuse me 1 second, John. If we can, listen, if we can just keep the personal insults out of it and just speak about the issue that we talked about. I know many people want to hear what the man said about the issue, and he spoke about an issue about free speech, which is his right to say something about speech, because we do have a privilege of the floor here. But to start insulting people and calling them names is not really proper. Please don't do it. Please. Go ahead, John, sorry.
Okay,
I'm glad that the issue of open meetings was on the agenda today. Just so happened that I was on the phone with the Committee for Open Government today, discussing the open meetings law, and I have to say that my outrage continues at what's going on with the board. I put together a petition on Super Bowl Sunday. We have close to 1,000 signatures now, asking this town board to comply with the open meetings law. I believe it's section 103, and I can almost recite it off the top of my head. That's how much I've been looking at it. It says that the entity must make every reasonable effort to accommodate all of the people that want to, all of the public that want to attend a meeting. And we're not getting that here. We were overfilled again today, and at the count when you were discussing the larger venue, there were about 173 people in the room. About 60 people had already left. So I have a question. Seems that the issue is security in any other venue. How many people in the last year were arrested at a town board meeting?
Continue, Mr. Legler.
Okay, I'll take that as a 0. Okay. Does the town have insurance? I guess we do.
Continue.
Okay. I spoke with Superintendent Mehrhoff about an organization that I belong to holding a meeting. It's one sheet of paper that needs to be filled out, and you need to provide a certificate of insurance. That's all you need. Okay? We do not need armed security guards here. We do not need state troopers here. Nothing has happened at these meetings. Nobody has been taken out of these meetings. It's an excuse, and it's outrageous. It is intimidation, absolutely. And I am going to look into it. I'm digging up cases. That's an intimidation right there as well. That man taking videotape of the audience is in a case right here. John Gotchis versus the Board of Education. Okay? Intimidation tactics, that's what we're being subjected to here. Excess security, videotaping the audience to intimidate them, to try to deprive and to intimidate us from attending open meetings.
Christina Kiesel. I'm an 18-year resident of the town of Monroe. Several years ago, I started an online petition requesting the town of Monroe air planning board meetings on Cablevision Channel 22, our local government channel. At that time, my request was completely ignored by the town board led by Sandy Leonard. Encouraged by the fact that the town has recently begun airing Village of Monroe meetings on Channel 22, I decided to circulate another online petition with the same request. Within a few days, I received approximately 250 signatures. It's clear the people of Monroe want transparency in their government. Many people in this town and the surrounding areas commute to their jobs and have family obligations, making it impossible to attend every meeting. I believe all public meetings should be aired on the local government channel, including the Village of Harriman and the Village of Curious Joel. I'm very glad to see the Village of Monroe board meetings are now being aired. It's long overdue. There's been a lot of talk recently regarding live web streaming. However, that may not happen for weeks or months from now. And I would like to see the town planning board and zoning board meetings aired immediately. I also want to comment on the fact that there's a huge amount of editing being done to town board meetings. For example, April 21st meeting ran for 3 hours and 20 minutes. However, on Channel 22, only 1 hour and 40 minutes was shown. What is the purpose for editing public meetings? If you're planning to live stream meetings in the future, then why are you editing them now? I also saw on this evening's agenda you'll be handing out certificates of appreciation at the next town board meeting. I would like to present my own certificates of appreciation. Firstly, to James Galvin, who I understand has resigned as attorney to the town of Monroe. And I think that was a very wise decision on his part.
We're going to stop this. No, we're going, this is nothing. The reasons for the
I have one for you. I have one for you too.
And the ma'am, we are not going to, this is not, we are not going to discuss this.
A certificate of appreciation
Ma'am,
is for
we are not
purchasing
going
the
to-
movie theater
we are
and turning
not
it
going to
into a
discuss
public restroom.
Again, George,
I only
ladies
have
and
one
gentlemen,
more sentence.
we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Ladies and gentlemen, we're returning to our town board meeting. The next speaker is
Debbie Behringer.
No town business was done during the break time, just so the public knows that. You're welcome.
Okay, I've been coming to the town board meetings, I told you last time, a year and a half. I've lived here since I'm 2. I'll tell my age, I'm 42. I grew up in this wonderful neighborhood of Maple Knolls. And I actually was going to start out by talking about the cell phone tower. So I would like to actually thank you, which I never thought I would say, for not putting the cell phone tower in. It's enough with what we deal with on a daily basis with the town highway department and everything else. I also wanted to thank Rick Colon and Mr. Rizzo for coming to Monroe Clean Sweep. I saw you there, and it was my first one, and we cleaned up a lot. I also think that maybe a nice idea would be to include our neighbors over in KJ, maybe on a Sunday. And I don't mean to disrespect, but I was driving with my son to his soccer game the other day on Bakertown Road. I didn't say a word, and he said, "Look at all the garbage out here." And he said, "I cannot believe this, Mom." And he started talking about Earth Day and plants and flowers and all the bottles and garbage on the road that was blowing everywhere in front of us. So maybe we can invite our neighbors to help with Clean Sweep. Once again, the last time I spoke, I believe it was 10:15, and was cut off on the news channel 22, whatever it is. It was cut off because we went on for so long, because I feel like you waste our time as we, you say all these things that nobody really knows what they're talking about anyway, and then we come up here and, I love our state troopers, but I just feel like they're standing here and they're probably saying, what is going on here? Why am I standing back here? We're not violent, and it's kind of a joke. Public comment should come first. I was sitting next to a nice gentleman who moved up from Bergen County and told me how he always had public comment first. Why does it have to be at 10 o'clock? Mr. Colon, I do commute, and I thank you. I'm a teacher. I drive 45 minutes. I have 4 children at home who I'm not with because I care about the town that I live in, the taxes that I pay, the schools that my kids go to. I'm a teacher myself, and I would much rather be home with my children. I really would. But we feel like if we don't come here, something's going to get pulled right over our eyes that we didn't know about. Kind of funny. Also, there was a last-minute meeting called a couple of hours before on a Friday that not many of us knew about, and a lot of us felt that that's why it was done that way. I actually saw Mr. Doles at the movie theater the other day, the real one that shows the movies in Middletown, and I thought to myself, you have to come all the way to Middletown to go to a movie. I don't want to drive to Middletown, I want to go to Monroe. But now it's a toilet. Again, it is a joke, I'm sorry. I've walked the ponds. I've never had to use the bathroom. I go before I leave my house. Or, if not, run into Monroe by a So the meetings, I said, are being cut off. This isn't our town anymore. And I applaud the lady from Tuxedo who actually spoke. But we leave these meetings, like my eyes twitch. I can feel the blood boiling in my body. And I know many of us feel that way because we're cut off, we're not represented, and we're not going anywhere. And I'm going to keep saying that. We're not going anywhere. And I really wish people would step up like Mr. Colon. Thank you, I applaud you. and think about that 5th board member and do the right thing and put somebody up there who represents us.
Good evening, Veronica Connolly, Village of Monroe resident. I'd like to ask this board, why do you feel it necessary to film the village board meetings when I, as a Village of Monroe resident, have never requested my village to do such?
He's too busy, he's on the computer, he can't answer.
Maybe we can ask Mayor Purcell, he's here right now. I've never asked him, what is it the concern of the town of Monroe to implement the services of the videographer to be at village board meetings to film?
Again, we're not here to make comment, just keep
Well,
your line.
you know what, I have to disagree with you with that, because if you answer questions for some residents, because maybe it's me, and we have maybe not the best working relationship, you don't feel the need to answer. But according to open meetings laws, if you answer questions for some of the residents, you have to answer questions for all the residents. I too, like John Allegro, have been on the phone with the Committee on Open Government. We've had a very lengthy conversation. So you're not playing, you're not playing fair. You like to take recesses. I'm calling you to say that you're not playing fair. And that's according to the Committee on Open Government. So if you answer questions for some residents, you have to answer questions for all residents. It's called equal. And also, and I'll quote an advisory opinion from the Committee on Open Government, dated December 6, 2006, OML/advisory opinion 4292. And of course, I'm not going to read the whole thing like you guys tend to do. From our perspective, while the supervisor presides over the town board meetings, it is questionable whether he may validly determine unilaterally whether the subject matter of comment proposed by a person desiring to speak involves town business. He is but one member of the town board, and believes that the town board, if necessary, should determine by means of a majority vote of its total members if there is a question or disagreement regarding whether a subject relates to town business. So in essence, Mr. Doles, you don't have the authority, according to open meetings advisory opinion, to determine what we can speak about or not unless the entire board agrees it. And that's the advisory opinion of New York State Open Government.
There's a lot of different advisory.
Well, this is one of many. I mean, if you want, I only have 3 minutes, so I don't want to take up too much time. I too am a teacher. I too get up early. I work with special needs children who need me at my top every morning and every day. So I'm not going to sit here and read everything. But this is, you can look it up. Check your laptop. I'm sure you'll find it pretty quickly. So can we at least have Mayor Purcell come up and answer my question, why it's necessary to have the village board, meetings taped by George Carney, the town's videographer?
3 minutes are up.
Oh,
Thank you,
but see,
Ryan.
again, you're not playing fair. You allow other residents to speak longer than their 3 minutes.
Thank you.
You allow, okay, so again, you're going against open meeting laws of not playing equal.
Dan, have they spoken more than 3 minutes?
No, we've been holding for 3 minutes.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so again, unequal government. Mark
Yeah,
says,
thank
here
you
we
very
go.
much.
Frank Baldassare.
Good evening. My name's Frank Baldassare. I've lived in Monroe for 12 years. I'm a certified public accountant, retired fortunately. 2 points. One, Rick, thank you for bringing up the capacity problem here for public meetings. Board, are you aware
that the capacity is 200, so you're in violation of the law when you had 280 people here. What the hell's wrong? Tonight you're in violation of the law. You had 205 people. And when you had 280 people, there was 100 people standing outside in the cold. Point one. Point two. At the prior meeting of April 7th, the supervisor asked the controller if the budget included any money for the opening of the public bathrooms in the movie theater. He answered, yes, we do have $135,000 in the budget. Being a CPA, I looked it up. Okay. On page 3 of the budget, there are 10 detailed items within the theater that comprise that $132,000. I don't see one line in there for the toilets. So obviously, what he said at best is misleading or just totally wrong. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your public comments. We need a motion.